In part 4 of this lecture, we are going to explore some of the training methods we might use to deliver instruction. Many of you are familiar with the traditional classroom lecture, originally delivered with only spoken words. In a standard lecture, the trainer presents material and the trainees listen. But there are other types of lectures that provide useful alternatives for us. In team teaching, 2 or more people share the responsibility, allowing them to share their unique expertise as well as the tasks associated with being a trainer. Guest speakers are usually experts in a specific training topic, and trainees often see them as highly credible and memorable. Multiple speakers make up a panel, and they each present a unique perspective. They usually spend a great deal of time interacting with the trainees and answering their questions. Finally, student presentations allow the trainees to learn a great deal about the training topic and then teach that information to their peers. After all, one of the best ways to learn how to do something is to have to teach it to someone else. The second presentation-based method is audiovisual instruction. Information is primarily presented through media that can be seen and heard. For example, slides, videos, audio recordings, all of which are called audiovisual techniques. The defining feature of this method is that it attempts to stimulate multiple senses, which is thought to achieve greater levels of learning. One of the most effective methods is on-the-job training, or OJT, where less experienced employees learn from their supervisors and more experienced colleagues. It happens on-site, not in a traditional classroom, and managers usually serve as trainers. This method tends to be more effective when it's structured. Training tasks are broken into steps or stages, and each one is explained and demonstrated multiple times by the trainer. Then trainees practice each step with the help of the trainer and receive feedback about their first attempts. Once they've mastered all the steps, they put it all together and perform the entire task as the trainer observes, evaluates, and provides even more feedback. This process is continuous, and managers continue to work with employees and provide the necessary resources. On-the-job training allows learners to develop a variety of KSAOs that are highly transferable to their jobs. Apprenticeships combine on-the-job training with traditional classroom learning. This method is popular in the skilled trades like plumbing, carpentry, and machinery. Programs typically last anywhere from 2 to 6 years. Employers and trade unions often sponsor and pay for these programs, and trainees make money while they learn. Some programs are regulated by both state and federal laws that mandate the number of required hours and other features of the apprenticeship. Another popular method is the case study, the process of analyzing a case, or a description of a problem or a situation in an organization, and of identifying ways that the characters could have approached the situation differently. Some cases are based on real organizations and real problems, while others are based on fictitious organizations. The trainer serves as a guide, helping trainees learn through a process of discovery. They learn as they move through the process and as they engage with the material. There is no one right answer to a case study. Instead, trainees are evaluated on how well they apply training content to the situation, to the case. Role plays also involve a description of a job-relevant problem or situation. Trainees are asked to take on a role, such as manager, employee, or customer, and act out different scenarios and explore what might be involved in the role. If the training group is large, they can be split into smaller groups of 2 to 4 people. If the training group is already small, a handful of trainees can volunteer and act out the roles while the rest of the group observes. Structured role plays share a few features. Trainers start out by explaining the context, much like a case, and describing the situation in which employees are expected to act out their roles. For some role plays, it helps to give trainees scripts with plenty of details and checklists to help them keep track of key issues. After the acting portion is complete, trainers should debrief the learners and explain the relevance of the activity to their jobs. It helps if trainers provide constructive feedback and positive reinforcement, encouraging those who may be shy about acting in front of people. The nature of adventure learning provides plenty of opportunities for trainees to observe and interact with their team members, which can then help them work together more effectively. Some companies rely on this type of method to help team members get to know one another and feel more comfortable working together. In addition to building relationships, it can also be useful for increasing individual members' self-awareness and self-confidence. Although it isn't listed here, adventure learning has the added benefit of being a preference among trainees. Team training is designed to achieve specific job-relevant outcomes and improve a group's dynamics and performance. There are different types of team training, like coordination training, which teaches the group how to coordinate their efforts, like how to manage knowledge within the team and hopefully share it with the rest of the organization. Cross-training, which teaches every member how to do the other jobs in case those members are absent and to develop a talent pipeline. And team leader training, which prepares the leader for the unique role and covers topics like communication and conflict resolution. The best team training programs do at least these 3 things. First, they establish shared mental models around the goals and expectations for working together and for completing the work. 2, they help group members see the good in one another and appreciate their similarities and differences. 3, these programs are job relevant to the extreme. This is what sets them apart from adventure learning, which purports to be job relevant but sometimes isn't. Team training can teach members how to share information, make decisions, and resolve conflict. E-learning is something you are all familiar with. Technically, e-learning is the delivery of instruction online using the internet. Some people refer to it as web-based training, computer-based training, or online learning. Trainees can access content during live instruction in the classroom, or they may complete a portion of or an entire course online. When programs are entirely online, learners have a great deal of control over what they learn, when they learn it, and the pace at which they learn it. This method is most effective when it prompts learners to practice newly learned capabilities, either at work or in some other live situation, and then report back to the class, to the instructor about that experience. E-learning also tends to be more effective when trainees have plenty of opportunities to interact with the material, the trainers, and other learners. And when the text is combined with audiovisual techniques, links to other resources, and a visually appealing format. The best simulations have a high degree of both physiological and psychological fidelity, meaning the training task closely matches the work task, and the 2 environments, the training environment and the work environment, are similar. A good example is a flight simulator for pilots. Trainees must make decisions about how to respond and how to demonstrate the KSAOs and behaviors that they've just learned. Their decisions in the simulation will produce outcomes that are very similar to those they could expect in the work environment. Using the branching story, trainees make a series of decisions, and each one affects the subsequent decision. Interactive spreadsheets allow trainees to interact with the data and experiment with different decisions, including how those decisions create different outcomes. Game-based simulations are like playing a video game with competition and points and different levels. After participating in the simulation, trainees receive feedback from the trainer and from the technology, and they should debrief and conduct an after-action review with the trainer and other learners. One of the newest training technologies is augmented reality, or AR for short. It requires trainees to wear a headset or glasses. They can still see their physical environment, but the headset projects graphics and video onto the screen so it lays over their view of the physical environment. They can reach out and touch the graphics, play sound and video, and access additional information by interacting with the content. AR is now being used by a variety of industries, including healthcare and manufacturing. You've probably heard of virtual reality, which is slightly different. Virtual reality simulates an entirely separate and artificial environment, while AR only projects digital elements onto our view of the real physical world. E-learning is one of the methods used by distance learning, which is popular with companies whose trainers and trainees are physically separated. But distance learning can be synchronous, and instruction can be delivered in real time. Using teleconferencing and web conferencing tools like Zoom and Skype for Business, trainees can ask and answer questions, respond to polls and quiz questions, and share files, all in real time. Instruction can also be asynchronous, where trainees can access the content at their convenience through physical materials, e-learning, virtual classrooms, and webcasts. Some distance learning programs require trainees to use their own space and their own computer. Other companies provide a designated space on site for employees to access training that is delivered in real time by an instructor in a different location. The final technology-based method we will cover is blended learning, which is a blend or combination of classroom instruction and technology-based learning, usually e-learning. These courses are sometimes called hybrid courses. The idea is to balance the advantages and disadvantages of both methods. Flipped classrooms use e-learning to deliver lecture content and the physical classroom to facilitate activities and assessments. I've used this approach in other courses with great success. I pre-record all the lectures and require students to read the textbook and watch the lectures before class. Then, when we meet in person on campus, we can devote the little time that we have to completing group activities, self-assessments, and application-based assignments. Every class period ends with an after-action review where we discuss and document what we learned.